Okay, hello. Today I'd like to make a point on a situation that we all encounter. It is when we are reacting to what is happening around us. Let's say maybe someone is insulting me and or talking to me rudely. And at this time, it can be very difficult, really challenging to manage to keep calm and to still remain in control of the situation. So not of control of the person in front of me, but of the situation, of me and of what I'm doing, how I'm reacting in this situation. So what I realize is that most of the time in this situation I can feel emotions that arise, and I consider that I'm more more controlled by my emotions than by myself truly, which is easy to realize, because if you think of the situation later, well, first, most of the time you don't feel very comfortable with what you did or how you reacted when it was your emotions that were controlling you. And secondly, you won't do exactly the same thing after when you can rethink of the situation, think again of the situation. You won't do exactly the same thing because you're not under the control of your emotions. You have no emotions anymore, and so you are not thinking exactly the same thing. And you can see that it was not really you completely. You have no all control of yourself at the time you were in this situation. So another way I think to try to consider the situation is try to imagine that instead of you being in the situation, you are just looking at the situation with someone else at your place, someone that maybe you don't even know, and you are just watching the scene. How do you think the person should react? It's much easier that way, because obviously you don't have any emotions, because you don't feel personally involved, or at least very little, and then you are much more in control of what you would do. Actually, you are controlling your thoughts and your reactions. You can think rationally, being yourself, not being your emotions in a certain way. Okay, so that's how I try to consider things, but obviously the challenge is that at the time you are confronted to a situation where you can feel emotions, and well, the time goes by very fast. You just react straight away, and you don't think a lot of what is happening. So it's very difficult to think at this time. So what I try to do in this situation is try to think about this kind of situations in advance. And I know that when things makes me very, nervous, or at least I feel really anger or things like that, I really feel bad emotions. Well, I know that I'm not completely aware of everything that I would like to be, and I try not to react, or at least not to overreact. So I try to maybe sometimes, do and say nothing. I prefer, even if it seems like I'm losing the control of the situation or something like that. But I prefer to be underreacting than overreacting, because I would say underreacting, you don't regret it a lot. You know that you would have been worse if you had reacted otherwise. So it's still good. It's still good. You can think of the situation again later, and then afterwards it's easier, and then you can try to imagine what would have been the best answer you could have given, or how you could have reacted in this situation afterwards. And then the next time a situation similar occurs, you are more prepared, and each time you are more prepared to this kind of situations. So In the situation where I feel emotions arising, anger or things like that, I try not to react, or at least the least possible, because I know that even if at the time I feel like I'm completely right to react a certain way, I know that I don't have all control of my thoughts. It's more my emotions. So I know that I have to reconsider that. So because I thought of that earlier, it's easier to say in the moment, say, hey, keep calm, let things go, we'll think about it later. And then afterwards, I reconsider the situation and try to have a good solution, a good reaction, at least in my head, so that the next time I'm better prepared. Okay, so I hope, well, I don't even hope you enjoyed what I said. I would like you to give me your opinion, your experience, how do you manage this kind of situations, and let me know what you think. It's very interesting. And as always, don't hesitate, make your comments about my English, the mistakes I made and how it sounds, so don't hesitate, give me any comments. I thank you, and I'll see you soon.